Nearly 108,000 Americans died of drug overdose in 2022. That's according to recent government data. That figure is a record. And of those, more than two-thirds were linked to synthetic opioids, mainly illicitly manufactured fentanyl. Over the last 2 decades, overdose deaths in the United States have risen almost every year, making it the worst overdose epidemic in American history. And Kate Fisher tells us more.
In San Francisco, more than 800 people died from drug overdoses last year, a record. City officials believe that most of the cases involved fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that's 50 times stronger than heroin, meaning that even in small doses, it can be deadly. But the epidemic is nationwide. On the other side of the country, Kensington Avenue in the city of Philadelphia is home to one of America's biggest open-air drugs markets.
It was about a month before I actually got sober, and my mom.
Megan Cohen spent much of her 20s here. She began drinking at college before moving on to hard drugs.
Things that I said that I was never going to do, like steal from my mom. Those things started happening. And then it was like, oh, I'll never sell drugs, or I'm never going to do heroin, or I'm never going to smoke crack. And then those things happen.
Megan went through the recovery process more than 70 times before getting sober. But for many, that never happens.
Fentanyl is likely the number one killer of Americans aged 18 to 45. We're working intensely to address this threat from every angle.
But for some drug policy advocates, that doesn't go far enough.
We're looking at the greatest overdose crisis our country has ever experienced. More than $1 trillion that have been spent in the name of the drug war. That's not even counting lives lost, whether it be to incarceration or because of deadly police encounters or other ways that we know that, people die in the drug war, including overdose. All evidence tells us that the approach that we've taken has been a failure.
Outside of the White House, organizations like Shatterproof are on the front lines of that war.
It absolutely needs to be the top priority in the country right now. We have seen progress in terms of better treatment, better access to treatment, as well as those life-saving medications. However, there's still a lot of work to be done, and unfortunately, the crisis grows. So I think the most consequential but least utilized tool in terms of addressing addiction is prevention.
I live just for today.
Tabitha Christian has been free of her substance use disorder for 10.5 years. Now she helps others by sharing her story.
People like me are the reason I am free today. I so truly believe in this power of storytelling because of the people that I leaned on to help me free myself, and I want to be that resource to other people.
The opioid overdose drug naloxone is another resource the White House is deploying in its bid to save more lives. It's launched a nationwide call to action to make it more accessible.
Dubbed the challenge to save lives from overdose, the White House is trying to get naloxone into as many communities as possible in a bid to stem the wave of unnecessary death, while it works on longer-term solutions to America's deadly addiction. Kate Fisher, CNA, Washington.